Okay everyone, so the first push-up I'm going to coach you through is the push-up. I am doing an advanced version of the push-up where I'm on my toes. You can certainly do this from your knees. You'll probably notice that I'm also using push-up handles, as I have the luxury of using those in the studio. Assuming you don't have a set of those, you could easily just prop a towel or a cushion underneath your palm to support your hand and make it a little bit more comfortable for your wrists. So you notice I'm lowering and lifting in a very slow fashion. My breathing is matching my efforts, so as it's getting increasingly more challenging, I am breathing heavier. I'm still trying to maintain my cadence, even though you can tell at this point I'm shaking quite a bit. It's getting pretty challenging, and I'm getting pretty close to muscular failure, which is the goal. The target muscle groups in the push-up are the chest, the shoulders, and the triceps, or the back of the arm, right behind the elbow. You're also going to get a lot of torso stabilization out of this exercise as well. So the abdominals, the lower back muscles, some of the hips muscles, and the leg muscles even are engaged to hold yourself straight and rigid. You're going to continue with the push-up until you can no longer perform your last repetition, and then you can simply drop a knee, and you'll probably see me do that soon. Getting pretty close. I think the next one is muscle failure. There it is. Not the most elegant. I've opted to do a few what's called negative only, so I'm just doing the lowering phase, attempting to push back up, but do not have the strength. And this is just to deepen the fatigue even further. By no means do you need to do this. I just wanted to make sure that I was tapping out every muscle fiber that I could. And you can see my ability to keep form has completely failed on that last attempt, and that's where I call it quits. Next exercise up is the dumbbell bench press. If any of you have a bench at home, dumbbells, this is an excellent exercise to work the same muscle groups we did in the push-up, but with a little bit more control, with a little bit more weight. I'm going to start at the top, lowering very slowly. You want to feel a stretch in the chest and your shoulders, but it shouldn't feel straining in your joints at all. You should select a weight that you can perform 6 to 8 repetitions of with a very slow cadence of perfect form. If you have the ability to have somebody around to perhaps spot you, that could be helpful. This is generally something that I would encourage people to do with a spotter, or at least with somebody watching your form. I also discourage you from training to failure with this one completely unless you are confident that you can bring the dumbbells close to your body without hurting your shoulders. And especially if you're doing it in the sequence that I am performing here in this video, coming right off of the push-up. My muscles are already pre-fatigued pretty deeply, so I didn't have that much left. You can see my form is starting to deteriorate here already. I still do the lowering phase with pretty good form, but pushing back up is impossible. It's always good to remember during these exercises that you shouldn't feel any pain. It seems obvious to say, but if there's any sharp, shooting, throbbing sensations, check your form. If you have a body mirror, it might be helpful to set it up beside you, and that way you can glance over at your positioning from time to time to make sure that everything is in line. This exercise is called the bent over dumbbell row. This is something, as well as the bench press, you could actually perform with a jug of water. You could use a resistance band as well, simply by standing on it. This exercise addresses the muscles in the upper back, particularly in between the shoulder blades, the middle back, the backs of your shoulders, and your pulling muscles in your arms, your biceps and your forearms, and of course your grip strength as well. The further forward you lean with this, the more you're going to feel the weight, the more challenging it's going to become. So adjust the resistance in either your dumbbells or the resistance band or your water jugs accordingly. Move slowly. You can see at the top of that position where the dumbbell's closest to my chest, I'm pausing for a few seconds. And at that point, I'm not just holding the weight, I'm actually trying to squeeze my back muscles consciously. The harder you squeeze, the more challenging it becomes, the more muscle fibers you recruit, and the more effective the exercise. You can see my stance here. I'm pretty wide with my feet, almost like a tripod with my hands on the bench. So I'm nice and stable, and that way I can really focus on those target muscles. Keeping my back straight, my hips out behind me, my knees slightly bent, and here's failure. Squeezing as hard as I can, not giving up, and after about 5 seconds of squeezing, that's it. I realized at that point that the bench was up too high, so you probably noticed I just popped it down a little bit so that I can bend forward a bit more, get a bit more work out of the back muscles. I try to minimize my rest in between exercises as well. This helps to encourage the cardiovascular aspect of the exercise, keeps your heart rate up, keeps you breathing heavy. It's also beneficial for your metabolism, and just gives you a better feel overall of having a good workout. But go at your own pace. You need to take breaks in between exercises, in between sets. Take a no longer than a minute break, sip some water, shake out your limbs, take some deep breaths, and then try to get right back into the next exercise. If you're looking for cadence, I'm lifting at about 6 seconds and lowering at about 6 seconds as well. There's no hard and fast rule about how slowly you should move in terms of time. Figure out what feels comfortable for yourself. The most important thing is to not accelerate. No jerky, quick movements. No dropping the weight from the contracted position. You're really still trying to squeeze as you lower the weight. Think about contracting your biceps, shoulders, the back muscles. Keep your breathing steady. Oftentimes what I'll share with clients is when you feel like you can't do another repetition, try to push yourself to do 2 more and be surprised at how much you can do. And then of course when you're done, you're done. Take a break, catch your breath, grab some water, and on to the next exercise. This one's pretty accessible for everyone. You can get resistance bands very cheaply, pretty much anywhere. I've seen them in Walmart, I've seen them in Winners. There are hundreds of choices on Amazon that can be delivered to your door. And they usually come in kits with multiple bands, light gauge, medium gauge, a heavy gauge. And sometimes they can even be extra heavy or extra heavy. As you can see, because this band has no handles, I'm forced to wrap it around my hand just to ensure that the band doesn't let go. which is fine for me. Some people might feel a little uncomfortable because the band can cut into your skin. If that's the case, look for bands with handles. They usually have a clip on the end of the handle that you can attach the band to, or even multiple bands if you want to match, say, the small light gauge with the medium gauge, for instance, just to have more options for resistance for different exercises. So this exercise, the row, is, again, it's basically the same muscle groups that we're using with the bent over dumbbell row, but I like to do the resistance band at the end as a bit of a finisher, just to really get a good fatigue in those same target muscles. Mostly the upper back, and the focus is retracting the shoulder blades, trying to pull the shoulder blades together as tightly as you can in that back position. Squeezing your biceps, squeezing your shoulders back. Another pro tip here is to try not to let the band stretch out, retract too quickly. So from this position out, it's very easy to just sort of let go and let the band pull you back, but you're still trying to resist it pulling you forward. So squeeze back, let go really slowly, try to fight the band the whole way out. When you have nothing left to give, set will be over. I think it's done after this. Yeah, not much left after that one. Okay, next up is the dumbbell deadlift. And again, if you don't have a set of dumbbells, you can use water jugs. You can use any type of a heavy box that has a handle on it, even, or handles on the sides. Resistance bands work really well on this too, so instead of the dumbbells, you'd be standing on the band. Piece of the band in each hand. The focus here is the lower back muscles specifically. You will be working all of the muscles in and around the spine, what are referred to as the erector spinae muscles. It's also very common to feel this one in your glutes, because the glutes are working, the buttocks muscles, and the hamstrings. I often will get sore in my hamstrings and my lower back after doing dumbbell deadlifts. I find that's the place that I feel it the most, but everybody's different. But the focus, again, is the lower back. So as you bend forward, your hips shift backwards. And you notice my back stays straight, and as I pull up, I'm attempting to arch my lower back and squeeze into those back muscles. It's also important to keep your head and neck neutral. So you notice how my head is pointed down. I'm looking towards the floor when I bend forward, and then my head is looking forward as I stand up. So try not to continue to look forward. I see a lot of people do that. That just kind of cranes the back of your neck, cause strain. Keep your arms locked out in this one, gripping the handles tight. Your knees should be slightly bent, and you're keeping the dumbbells very close to your body. The further away from your body you hold the weight, the more you're going to feel it. And this is one that maybe you don't want to take quite to a very deep fatigue. Maybe stop just shy of muscle failure with the deadlift so your back can stay straight, you can see. These are called the split squats. Kind of looks like a lunge, but you're not moving anywhere. You're stationary. Just going up and down. Feet should be about hip width apart. The front leg is the one doing most of the work, and that's why the dumbbell is in the hand of the same leg working. Now, these on their own are quite challenging, so I would recommend for anybody starting out a fitness regime, or if you're just getting back into a fitness regime, ditch the dumbbell. You can do this with body weight and still get a really good burn if you move slowly and you pause, as I am in the video here, at the bottom of each one of these, just for a couple of seconds, just a little bit of a static hold and then pressing up. You notice I don't lock my knee out at the top either, because I want to keep those muscles under continuous tension. If I lock out, I get a bit of a break. I'm trying to avoid the break at the top. The other thing you notice is my knee in the front leg, trying to keep it from drifting over my toes. And if I were coaching myself in real life right now, I would actually tell myself to push my back foot away so that that knee can just travel a little back further, so that it's not quite going, because it is going over my toes a little bit here. So even a trainer needs a trainer. Generally a good idea to take a minute or two rest after this one, because although I said that front leg is doing most of the work, the back leg is working as well, so you're going to feel a little bit of fatigue in there. So it's okay to take it's okay to take a bit of a longer break in between legs for this exercise, but not too long. Again, we want to keep the cardiovascular system up, we want to keep the heart rate going, the breathing heavy, feel burning in those thighs, and the buttocks muscles and glutes. And in order to reach the glutes, just like most OneUp fitness clients know, we always encourage you to push through your heels when you're doing the leg press machine. It's the same idea when you're doing a split squat. Most of my weight in that front leg is pressing down through my heel, about 80% of it. That way I can really contract my glutes muscles, my hip muscles directly. Notice I'm trying to keep myself tall through my spine, my shoulders back, my chest up, my head stays straight. I'm looking straight ahead, and I'm picking a spot on the wall or a piece of furniture in front of me, and keeping my eyes locked on that. Don't look down when you do this exercise. If you look down, you'll most likely lose your balance. And the last exercise here is the wall squat. This is the tough one. I'm at a 90-degree knee angle here on this one, which is the hardest position to hold, hardest safe position to hold. If you go any deeper than that, it would be harder, but it would also not be great on your knee joints either. So I don't recommend going any deeper than this. And I would even recommend starting up higher than this, maybe at a 45-degree knee angle. You're aiming for about 1.5 to 2 minutes for your hold. So what you can do is set a chair up in front of you, with your iPad and your timer, or even just stare at the clock on the wall, take note of when you start, and try to hold that wall squat for, like I said, 1.5 to 2 minutes long. If you're doing it in the same sequence that I have here in the video, split squats first, you're pre-fatiguing those muscles anyways, so you'll most likely not be able to hold it that long if you follow this exercise after the split squats. Good demonstration of cardiovascular stimulation here. Most people think you need to get on a treadmill to stimulate your cardiovascular system and get good conditioning. I'm not even moving here, and I'm already breathing like a freight train. Cardiovascular conditioning is all about the muscles, how strongly you contract them. Tension in the muscle is what stimulates the cardiovascular system. Be prepared to either drop to the floor which I'm about to, or stand straight up.